And joining us in the Green Things Zocalo Village studio on the live line, Jim Tofel. Jim of Tofel Dent Construction. Jim is a member of the Sun Corridor Board of Directors. Jim, how are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing real well. I still see a lot of cranes on the Tucson skyline. What is the state of construction in this community right now?
Well, I'll answer that question a couple ways. In general, it's very strong, especially downtown where we have a true urban environment that's walkable. And I think everywhere along the modern streetcar line. I mean, the modern streetcar is a great way to get people around the community, but it's really more about defining a corridor for high-density development. I think that's what we're seeing. There's a lot of new projects from the Mercado through downtown, along 4th Avenue, up through University and the Medical Center. And we're seeing a lot of investment and growth, both projects that are under construction and projects that are in the planning stages along that corridor. In general, I think Tucson has recovered from the recession in 2008 for most industries. One point of feedback I'd like to make for the industry as a whole is that I'd like to see a better subcontractor base. In Tucson, we lost a lot of subcontractors from the recession in 2008. And as a result, for some of the bigger, more complex projects, we're having to bring subs from out of town. And, that's one of my hopes going forward is that we can continue to develop our subcontractor base and be able to perform more of that work within Tucson. I think in order to keep the construction industry strong in Tucson, we need to continue to attract businesses to move here. That's one of the reasons I joined the Sun Corridor is I feel like Tucson has a lot to offer companies, and I want to help us compete with other cities like Phoenix for attracting new businesses.
We got a lot of, as you point out, activity going on right now, and you said there's planning for others. What do you think, Jim? How is this coronavirus and this downturn on Wall Street, and many people feel and are hoping that it will be temporary and there'll be a very dramatic recovery. What's your take on it, Jim Tofel?
So, in the short term, we are not having a significant financial impact. We've had to make a lot of changes on our projects, like all businesses. Mm-hmm. So our office personnel, for the most part, are all working from home. I'm working from home right now. In the field, on our jobs, they do not have the option of being able to work from home. So we've had to take a lot of additional safety precautions on our projects. Our field offices are closed to subcontractors and basically anybody except for our employees. All meetings are being held outdoors. We're maintaining safe distances. We've instituted a lot of additional personal protective gear on the people working in the field. So we don't want to see any exposed skin. Everybody has to wear long sleeve shirts, gloves, safety glasses. We can't get ventilators for most of our guys, so we're getting these things called, it's like neck gear that comes up over your face and nose. If they don't have that, they can take a T-shirt and basically cut off the bottom half of it and wrap it around their face. And then we don't allow more than 3 people in a room at a given time. So for projects that are dried in and we're working on the interiors, we don't want a lot of people in the rooms at one time. In general, we're following the CDC recommendations for evaluating high-risk individuals and if somebody should be on site or not. So the CDC on their website has it's called a risk assessment matrix that says if somebody is high risk or low risk. So if they've traveled to an area where there's an outbreak, or they know somebody who has the coronavirus, they're considered high risk. And so there's different actions that we take for each risk assessment. And that's basically what we're following right now. But, our goal is to try to keep things moving forward.
Jim, give us an overview. You've got what are some of the projects, some of your marquee projects that you've got going on, and some of the more challenging ones? Give us kind of an overview of your company. And I know that David Dent is now, you've got the name Tofel and Dent Construction. Give us the kind of the overview of the company.
So we're definitely a growing company. We have 70 employees, most of which are Tucson-based. We have about $157 million worth of construction projects currently under contract. And even though we're based in Tucson, actually most of our work is out of town. So we currently have only 2 projects in Tucson. The one that's most notable and recognizable is the Flynn, which is a project that's being built just north of the convention center on Broadway and Church. It's where La Placida used to be.
Uh-huh.
HSL is the developer on that project. And we have another small project going for Hulualoa right now over by Pima College. And I just finished an office building for Board Partners on University and 4th Avenue. But outside of our Tucson deals, we've got 6 projects in Maricopa County, 1 in Flagstaff, 3 in New Mexico. Historically, we've been primarily multifamily contractors. We've had an increased focus on our commercial and our hotel divisions. It's interesting that, this coronavirus, even though it's not having a short-term impact, we are seeing projects get canceled or delayed. And so I'm more concerned about a long-term impact in six months to a year from now, because there's projects that we've got in our backlog that we were anticipating starting in the next several months that are not going to move forward now. Most notably on the hotel side, lenders have basically pulled funding commitments on every hotel we're working on.
Wow.
Marriott has had huge layoffs. Hilton has had a lot of layoffs. And so there's really nothing coming out of the ground on that front right now. The area where we're seeing the most traction is in apartments and housing, and specifically affordable housing.
Well, very challenging times, Jim Tofel, but it sounds like you guys are going to adapt whatever lies ahead, and you've got a lot of work right now, at least currently, right?
We do, and Dave Dent. Just to touch on that side of it, Dave Dent and I were made managing members a couple of years ago. The company was originally formed in 1984 by Steve and Rich Tofel. They're identical twins. And it was actually formed to give my grandfather a job. So he was an interesting guy. He was married 4 times, and every time he got a divorce, he left everything to his ex.
Wow.
So Joe Tofel was married to Marion Tofel. They started and ran the Tucson Racket Club.
Mm-hmm.
And when they got a divorce, he left the racket club to her and left everything to her. So he didn't have a job. He didn't have anything to do. So they started the construction company actually to give him a job.
Wow.
And it was to support their in-house developments.
Wow.
And when the 86 tax reform happened under Reagan, they completely changed how they valued properties. And you remember the whole RTC thing.
Sure.
And Steve and Rich were hurt pretty badly through that thing. And so Steve decided he liked the construction industry and wanted to focus on that. And he grew the company from a $2 million a year construction company to a $50 million construction company in about 2018.
Wow.
So Dave and I took over at that point, and the company is continuing to evolve. Dave manages the operations. He does a really good job with that side of the business. It's a tough thing that he does, and I work more on the pre-con side and the business development.
All right. We're going to have to leave it right there, but Jim Tofel, thank you very much. Interesting information. Thanks, sir. Good luck.
Okay. Thank you, bud.
Jim Tofel with Tofel Dent Construction. You can find out more about Sun Corridor by going to suncorridorinc.com.